Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been probably months since I posted anything. I just decided to take a break from just the whole social media thing, but we're gonna start getting back into it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep uploading like daily recaps. That'll probably be something more for the Discord, but I'm just gonna share the trades that I took this week, how I made just over $20,000 this week trading NQ futures, and we're gonna start off with Monday's trade, and then I'm just gonna go through um, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and also Thursdays trade, which I did end up breaking even on, but that's besides the point. Let's get straight into this first setup. So what I was looking at initially coming into the day on Monday, right? I was just watching to see what price was going to do. Obviously, the trend is more bullish, as we can see. If we look on the higher time frames, obviously this candle is already going to fucking play out, but that's just how it is on the backtesting mode or replay mode on TradingView, which is it's fine by me. But as you can see, what we're looking at right now is we have the London highs and then we have the London lows, right? We have Asia down here as well, which is being supported by this order block right here, right? So price is holding this down, meaning Asia is actually sponsored by this order block. So we shouldn't expect price to come down to here until a key level has been met up at the buy side, right? So if we're watching price, notice, right, we sweep the London high and then we also still have this high resting. It's a bit weird, right? We had this opening gap and then we have this new day opening gap up here as well. But for the most part, I was looking pretty bearish for this day because of this reason, sweeping at the high, just wanting to see how price reacts off of this London high zone. Because most of the time, if we hesitate around the level after sweeping buy side, for example, if we hesitate, we could expect price to continue lower if we have the right confirmations. So heading back to this 15-minute time frame here, right? So what do we have so far, right? So the market open doesn't happen for another 30 minutes. So we play the next 15-minute candle out right here. So you see we run up and we sweep out this swing high here, okay? Now, if you look to the left as well, you can see that we have a fair value gap here on the 15-minute that was mitigated by this candle here at 9 p.m. on Wednesday from last week. But if we look here, you can see that we sweep out this high inside of this 15-minute imbalance. I don't care if it's mitigated already, it's still a valid PD array, in my opinion. Okay, don't take my word for it. Don't, add it to your strategy. You can if you want, but again, don't take my word for it. Go in the backtesting sessions and figure it out for yourself, because that's what I've seen multiple times and I trust it. I have conviction. I execute on it regardless. Okay, so after sweeping out this internal buy side level, right? Okay, from this point, I usually do like to look for some sort of SMTs in the market. If we do have an SMT, that's great. If not, it's not a deal breaker. It's an optional choice for me. So this is the Dow. So clearly the Dow did not make any SMTs here with this high. So if we go to ES, we could see that we don't have any SMTs here either. So no clear SMT, but we are still sweeping liquidity, and we're also reacting off of a key level. So that's already 2 steps done, right? So from here, all I can do now is scale back down to the lower time frames and just wait for some sort of confirmation, right? Either a change in delivery, some sort of inversion fair value gap, something along the lines telling me that price wants to go in that said direction, right? So we do have clear targets down here. We still have clear equal lows, and you can go on a higher time frame as well to see any open imbalances. So we do have this 15-minute fair value gap here that could easily get filled. We do have some sell side down here as well, and then we do have Asia lows down here. So price could definitely come down here. I don't remember exactly how far we went, but I'm pretty sure we did make somewhat of a significant move. So if we're watching this, right, this right here would actually be your change in delivery, okay? So we have our change in delivery here, which got closed through when we created it at 9:28, so before open. So I didn't want to take anything until the market opened, but we did get the confirmation of this change in delivery, right? You can go on the 2-minute to see what other PD arrays we have. So we do have a fair value gap here. You can go on the 3-minute to check if there's another one, and there isn't in this case. So I can mark out this 2-minute inversion fair value gap, and I can watch and see how price reacts off of that zone. So again, we have our liquidity sweep, we have our key level, no SMT, but it would have been nice if we did. And now all I'm doing is waiting for the open. So boom, here's 9:30. Okay, so 9:30 opens, we trade lower, right, creating equal lows, which is great, but we also come back up and retest this. So if price is truly bearish, right, I don't want to see it really come up above this high. It can come up above this high, tap the end dog, create a new swing high, and then continue lower. But that's why I'm waiting for open, because I don't want to take the chance. I don't want to risk, you know, losing on a dumb position because, you know, of market open volatility. I would rather wait and potentially miss out on the move rather than trying to force an entry that may look good but still has a pretty decent chance of getting stopped out. So that's what I did. I waited, right? So we did come up, we tapped it back into this CISD. And at this point, right, the 931 candle has been has printed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the 2-minute has closed yet, right? Obviously there is a 2-minute inversion, but it doesn't close fully until 9:32. So with that being said in mind, where is the next sort of change in delivery? Where's our structure telling us that it's going to deliver, or the change in delivery? It's right here, under this last candle. So what I did on this trade, you guys can go on the Discord and verify that I took this. It's all taken. There's no bullshit. There's no faking going on here. Okay. So I put my limit here at the CISD, because if you look with this market volatility that's currently going on, I can't even use the ruler, but if we're looking at this from this closing price to where this is, that's probably a solid 197. So that's a solid 18 points. So that can make or break your risk to reward, right? So I want to put my entry here. If it goes without me, oh well, I'll find a continuation down lower if it makes sense. So ideally, where would you want to put your stop loss? So in this case, right, we already tapped the 15-minute. We got the rejection off this initial CISD, okay? And then I'm pretty sure we actually had an SMT here. Yeah, we did. We had a small SMT with this opening price at 928, but it's not super prominent because there's no swing high. I usually like to use SMTs inside of PD arrays and SMTs with prominent sessions like London, Asia, stuff like that, and also just separated SMTs. If this high took out that high and ES did not take out the high, I would assume that that's a good SMT, but in this case there were none. Okay, so we'll just say that there were no SMTs. But since we did get the closure below, right, CISD on the 1-minute out of the 15-minute PD array, I put my entry here, and then the stop loss would go above the CISD here, because I'm not expecting it to come back up here. You can put it up here, but I didn't want a 40+ point stop loss. I would have rather taken the risk on 30 points and then targeting whatever I need to target. I'm pretty sure all I did was target. So Monday I targeted the midnight open, which was right about here. So yeah, I looked to target this down here. So that's basically what I targeted, just this low, because I saw that London was already swept out, right? We had these lows down here. Asia was still an open target, but I just wanted to take my profits and call it a day. So stop loss above there, 30-point stop loss, 150-point take profit. And all I do from there is I let the trade play out. It follows my plan, it follows my strategy. Boom, it taps me in. It gets kind of close to stopping me out. It gets 6.25 points from stopping me out. But that's good stop loss placement, because you can see we closed through the 2-minute right here, and then we came back up and retested it. So you could have had an entry at the 2-minute IVG. I just didn't want to risk missing out on the trade, even though it was a good setup, everything aligned. It was perfect for me. So a good stop placement on my end, and then I ended up partialing at these equal lows here, and then I let the rest run down there. So as you can see, boom, right there. Wait, not yet. Boom, right there is when I partialed. Yeah, that looks about right. And then I just decided to hold the rest of the position. I didn't move my stop loss to break even until we broke below this low. So once this candle closed, I went break even and just immediate flush straight to the downside. And then rebalance back to this important fair value gap that broke this low. And we pretty much just flushed from there. Boom, TP hit, and I'm pretty sure we came all the way back down to London lows, or Asia lows. Let me see. So rebalance, kind of just chopping up a little bit. Looks like we came back to roughly OTE of this range here. Yep, so if we open our actual OTE, you can see that we barely hit the golden pocket zone, almost, but not quite. But we're still in a premium. We did hit OTE, and it's still showing signs that it wants to go lower. So that's what I was looking for. Let me see if this actually did play out fully to the Asia lows. Still holding. Okay, so it's just continuing to chop around a little bit. And I do believe, okay, eventually we did hit it, okay. So, yeah, that was my full trade for that day. It ended up going around, but yeah, that was pretty much it. So this day I made around, we'll cut 150 points, or 604 ticks, however you want to view it. And that day I made 6.4K, so not too bad. But if you can see here, right, what is this key level that we're actually respecting? So this key level right here is exactly what I marked out before I showed you, right? This is the 15-minute gap. So you can see we use this as support, right? In IFVG, we come back up and retest it and use it as support. And this inversion aligns with premium of this range, right? OTE, whatever. So I'm expecting price to hold this if we're still gonna be bearish down to Asia lows, if that makes sense. And you can see we make our way all the way back down to the end of this PM high from Friday. So that was pretty much that trade. You can also use different, small PD arrays, like the first presented fair value gap. I know ICT does that thing. So where's the first presented fair value gap in this case? It's here, right? This is your first presented gap. And you can see we respect it here, and then we respect it mostly here. But on the higher time frames, it's showing that we don't want to trade higher, right? The 5-minute, sure, it closes through it, but on the 15-minute, it just wicks, right? The wicks do the damage, the bodies tell the story. So that was the trade for this day, and we'll move on to the trade I took on Tuesday now. All right, so here we are on day 2, which was on Tuesday. It was another short as well, which was nice. So same sort of concept here, okay? Literally almost exactly the same. So what do we have resting right here? A PM buy side, very obvious level, right? But what is this buy side resting in? A 15-minute gap. So we're trading inside a 15-minute gap, and we still have buy side that's resting inside of this 15-minute gap. It was mitigated here, yes, but like I said on the previous trade, I will use already mitigated gaps if it makes sense with the overall narrative, right? We're still pretty damn bearish for this day, right? Because price is still telling me that, right? Well, we swept out the Asia lows, which is what made us run to all this low resistance, to London and to Asia. So obviously, I'm not in this because it's pre-market. I did see a decent setup here, but I just decided not to take it because that's not my rules. I don't like to trade pre-market. Sometimes I will for evals, whatever, but most of the time I don't. So what am I waiting for out of this? Okay, I'm waiting for price to take out this high, unless otherwise is said. So what happens? Price chops around for a bit, really nothing happens at the open, and then boom. Okay, now we've taken the PM highs. So now what am I watching? I'm looking to see, can price tell me that it wants to make a move lower? Is it giving me some sort of, idea to make sense of it? So that's what I'm looking at, right? We have our PM buy side right here on ES, PM buy side on NQ. We have the same inefficiency, the 15-minute gap, but there's no SMT. So what would I do usually if there's no SMT and I want to try and find one? I'll go to YM. YM usually gives me an SMT if ES doesn't, but it has to go along with the narrative. It has to make sense, or else you're just a pattern trader at the end of the day. So if we're looking at this, right, you can see that we have our PM buy side here, and we also have this buy side up here. But what did price do? We came up on YM and we actually swept out this high here, right? This high all the way, if you can see my cursor, on Monday, April 14th, 10:55. We swept out that high on YM over here in the AM. So I'm using this as a confluence that we're gonna hold this when whatever high we put in before making the move lower is gonna hold. So we have our sweep of liquidity, just like the last setup. It's not that complicated, guys. Sweep of liquidity inside of a key level with an SMT, which adds even more confluence. So what do I wait for now? I just wait for just more context, more of everything, okay? So why wouldn't I take this CISD here out of this 15-minute gap? because we still have the buy side resting here, right? Buy side's still resting there. We haven't taken it out yet. Why would I want to short before taking out buy side level inside of a key level? You're gonna get faked out, like majority of the time. So after we take that out, I need displacement, right? There's no displacement here. This is just big bearish candle, bullish candle, bearish candle, doji, somewhat bearish, and then we leave a pretty big wick, right? I'm not analyzing every single little candle. I'm just looking to see, is there displacement? Is there like an actual move telling us we want to go lower? No, there isn't. So I'm waiting. So what happens? It's kind of we're dilly-dallying around. We come up, take the high again, take that high again, right? We're just dilly-dallying. So at this point, if we're not doing anything, if there's no clear manipulation in the morning, I don't want to short anything yet, right? I'm waiting for this new 10 a.m. candle to open, so I can see how this 15-minute candle closes. Where would our change in delivery be if we're looking at this from my strategy's perspective, right? So the change in delivery right here, below this candle's opening price. So there's no IFEG, there's no nothing, so I'm just going to rely on a change in delivery. So what happens here? Boom, we open, we go higher. Now, since this isn't 10 a.m., right, this is where you have to make decisions based off of, whether you might miss the trade or if you want to wait to see if buy side gets swept one more time. Now, in this specific scenario, what I'd probably want to wait for is 10 a.m. Even if the trade decides to go against us, I still want to make sure that I'm following my strategy to a T and making sure that price just makes sense. If there was no manipulation at 9:30, which there really wasn't, we swept out the London high, rejected, and then started to continue higher. There's no real manipulation here, right? So I need some sort of manipulation. And if there's no manipulation at 8:30, there's no manipulation at 9:30, you can expect the manipulation to happen at 10. So if you ended up taking this CISD, you probably get stopped out here, I'm pretty sure. Price wicks, right? It would have tapped you in here, tapped you in there, maybe it starts to go in your way. Then what happens? Price starts to hold this volume imbalance right here. And then what happens? 10 a.m. opens here. We actually open higher, which is good for our bearish bias, right? Open high, low close, AMD, power of 3. You guys know this, right? We get a pullback here. Our change in delivery is still here, right? But I need a new high to get put in to have a different change in delivery now. Boom, we sweep out the high that's initially in there. But I'm still waiting because this 10-15 could still inverse this, but I want to make sure that the 15-minute candle is still inside of this 15-minute PD array, okay? So what happens? Nice rip, nice rejection up here. We close below the range of this candle. Now the new change in delivery would be where? Right here. New change in delivery, okay? So now what I would do from there is short that. If we do get below that, I'd probably put an entry here, a limit, or depending on how close we close, I might just market enter. So what can I do? Well, right now there's not really an SMT, so what can I do here? I could go to YM and see, okay, is there an SMT on YM? Okay, so there's no SMT on YM, which again, you don't need an SMT, okay? We have our sweep of liquidity, we have our key level, so what am I looking at now? We have an IFEG and a CISD. So if we close below this and the IFEG, I'd probably short that, right? Just makes sense, it's my model, it's how I trade. So what happens? We simultaneously inverse this and close below the CISD. So what would I do? I'd enter right here. Boom. Stop loss can go maybe just a tad bit above that order block, a tad bit above mean threshold. It's a little bit of a wider stop, but still overall it makes a lot of sense. And what would I look to target? Well, go on the 15-minute time frame. Look to see any PD arrays that are open. Right, we have this 15-minute fair value gap right here, and then we have midnight open all the way down here. Now, you can also use time to exit trades. So if you could see here, the 9:30 candle, the opening price of it is right here. So you can draw a big line out. So this is 9:30 open. So that would be a good target to target, okay? And it aligns with this volume imbalance as well. So that's what I would look to target. Yeah, so we had multiple 15-minute gaps as well. We had one here, we had one down here, and then we had one down here. And then we have a wickless candle here as well, which could be a very good target. So I ended up holding it all the way down to the end of this 15-minute gap, which was just below previous day equilibrium just above midnight, which was right there, I believe. Yeah. So I shorted there with my stop a little bit above the fair value gap in the order block, and then boom, price taps me in, goes a little bit higher to fill this IFEG here, and then this I guess you can call it a BPR, whatever, inversion. We come to fill that, and then from there, price just flushes straight to the TP and then rejects. That's it. So that was that trade. Very, very simple. It doesn't get any simpler than this. So let me go back and let's do the next trade on Wednesday. I'll be right back. All right, here we are with Wednesday's trade. So this one was a really good trade as well. All the trades I took this week were like extremely similar, if not almost identical. So what we can identify from this, right? So we have an unmitigated new week opening gap, or a new day opening gap. I'm not sure which color is supposed to be which, but we're clearly in a bullish trend. This looked like a very nice manipulation, and now we could literally just continue lower, right? It looks like it wants to continue lower until we can inverse this 15-minute gap here. I'm just gonna be bearish for the day. Let's just watching order flow. I don't need book maps. I don't need all this other stuff. I just look at price, bro. You don't need 67 monitors to be a profitable trader. It's just a misconception. It's just not true whatsoever. So this is the 9:30 open. So we open, we manipulate higher. That's good. If I want to be bearish, I would like to see a manipulation higher, right? Just the same as if I was bullish, I'd want to see a manipulation lower. So this whole session from London acted as the manipulation for the next session to be the distribution or the expansion to whatever the drawn liquidity is, right? Which we have London lows, right? And then maybe some lows down here. But for the most part, I'm just going to look for low-hanging fruit, take my piece of the pie, call it a day. If it makes sense to drop another 250 points, I'll leave a runner and I'll let it go for the day. But I'm not just going to be targeting unrealistic targets. It just doesn't make sense for me. So we tap our 15-minute gap, okay? Now, what am I waiting for? I need to see some sort of change in delivery out of this, okay? That's pretty much what we get. I don't know why this went to 944 so quick, but that's fine. So what happens here? This is where our 15-minute gap is. So we come up, we have this first presented fair value gap right here, we inverse it, and then we also get a change in delivery. My entry was right here, off of this change in delivery, so if I could put it right there. That was my entry. Stop loss, I think it was above midnight, just a little bit like that. And then I look to target this low here for a partial, and then this low all the way down here. I put on a little bit of lighter risk on this because I was already up heavy on the week. I didn't want to, make any dumb mistakes. Oh, okay, so my stop loss was actually above the gap here. So instead of a 5 hour, it's still like a 1.36 or whatever. So same exact thing, right? We have a 15-minute gap, right? There's no high inside the 15-minute gap, but it's still telling me, okay, we have a 15-minute gap. We trade up into it. Fake going lower, we manipulate one more time, still no change in delivery, we kind of just wick it, and then we come up again, and now we have a high inside of it. So we actually had two highs. We had this one here, which got swept, and we have this one here that got swept by there. So just based off of what I'm seeing right now, I could assume that this is the last leg of manipulation before the move actually happens. So you might be asking, well, was there 8:30 manipulation? Was there 9:30 manipulation? There was 9:30 manipulation. The 9:30 manipulation was this move up into this 15-minute gap. That was our 9:30 manipulation, right? We didn't tap up into it and to continue to go higher. We immediately rejected with displacement. So that's why once we got this closure here at 9:43, I put my limit here at the opening price. I literally got top ticked into this trade, and then from there, I took my partials at that low down there. Boom, boom. I stopped at break even at that point, and then I targeted the London lows because it just made sense. And you can see what happens once we sweep out the London lows. We continue to go up and rebalance price, and then I think we just chop for the rest of the day. But that's besides the point. That was a pretty good day. So that was Wednesday. Let's move on to the last and final day before I call it a video, and I'll be right back. All right, so here we are on the last and final day of the week. Obviously, I'm recording today on a Friday. The markets are closed. I couldn't trade even if I wanted to, but it's almost the same type of profile, right? Asia supported, London supported, but we're also hitting a key level up here, right? I don't think this hit it. No, it didn't. So we already swept out the lunch highs from the previous day. We swept out the PM highs, and what? Guess what? We are still respecting this 15-minute gap. So what happens? At 8 a.m., we come up and retest it again and trade lower, right? If we're looking at ES, so far, no SMTs here that I'm, curious of looking at. Go to YM as well. Do we have any SMTs on YM? We do. Look at that. YM never took out the PM high or the lunch high from Wednesday, but NQ did. So that can confirm that this high here in London should be protected, and this should be the high of day. Right? If you're ideally looking for continuations, if you see Asia pump, London pump, and you want to see New York pump, there has to be sponsorship from these PD rays, right? Because I was short, the reason I was short was because of this 15-minute gap. If I wanted to expect price to go higher, I'd have to see displacement and obviously key levels from London and Asia to tell me price wants to go higher. But we didn't get that. It told me otherwise. I was in mixed buys today until we had some displacement here in the morning, and I'll show you in a second, but we left the Asia lows, traded higher, and then I missed a decent setup. I just didn't feel comfortable taking, and then I got break even on this day. But let's go and show you that right now. 9:30 opens, and we immediately trade lower. There's no trade setup, there's no nothing. I was expecting Asia low to get taken, and then maybe I would start to look for longs, but that never happened. We actually did get an inversion here at around 9:44, but I wasn't super confident in taking this, to be honest. I just didn't see anything super prominent. I think we did rebalance to premium of this range. No, we didn't even rebalance to equilibrium of the range, which is fine. You could go on ES and mark the same high and low to see if it did on ES. And as you can see, we did on ES. We actually came up and tapped the golden pocket or OTE zone to the tick, which is pretty nice. But I just wasn't in favor of taking that. It wouldn't have been the best stop loss. Maybe it could have been a closure through. But if this was a trade I would have taken, this would have been probably somewhat like, I don't know, it was okay. It was just a really tight stop with 20 points. And in this market, having a 20-point stop, it works, but you have to be, more safe than sorry. So although it did play out, as you can see right there, it came down, it took this internal low, but it actually didn't take the Asia low. So if I was in that trade, it probably would have been a break-even trade because we swapped out the low. We left out the Asia low, which was good. And then as you can see from here, we came back up into this first presented gap. So from here, what I'm looking for is any other PD rays. Do we have a 5-minute? Do we have anything else? Right? So now we actually do have this 5-minute gap right here. So I want to see, can price respect that on the 5-minute? Boom, yes it does. So price never closes through that 5-minute. So now what am I looking for? Okay, do we have any sort of confirmation, any sort of maybe an SMT, change in delivery, whatever. So this trade that I almost took, that I probably should have taken, was not exactly the same as the other three I showed you, but it's still part of a way that I trade. So if you can see here, this candle here at 9:24, we never ran it at 9:54. So within that 30-minute window, we didn't run it. Failure swing, right? But if you look on ES at 9:54, we actually did run it. So we have a nice SMT right here. So boom, we have an SMT. We have our key level, right? And if we're going by time frame alignment, right, you're in a 5-minute key level, you want to look for a 15-second change of delivery. But in this case, it was a bit different because it traded into the 5-minute and went almost all the way to the top of it. But I was just watching this using discretion and just trying to make sense of what price was going to do and just kind of reacting off of it. So we ended up trading, making this high with the SMT, respecting this 5-minute gap, right? Where is our change in delivery? It would be here. This is your change in delivery down right here, right? But what I was watching for was this breaker to see if we can create a unicorn, which we did right here. This would have been an ideal entry. So right here would have been an ideal entry. Stop loss maybe a bit above the previous day equilibrium like that. And then looking to target the Asia lows. That would have been a decent trade. I just decided not to click the button or execute, which was my fault. But look at that. Look at how precise that stop placement was. I wouldn't have stopped this out. Stop loss goes above previous day equilibrium because it could still tap it and trade lower. I didn't expect any of these highs to get taken out. We did get a nice closure here as well. We did leave behind it for value gap. I was thinking about entering here too, but again, I didn't like how the way that this candle projected inside of this imbalance. It just wasn't a good setup for me, so I just decided to stay hands off until a little bit later. But of course, it did work out. It did end up coming all the way down and sweeping out the Asia lows, I'm pretty sure, in a second. Oh yeah, but one thing I also forgot to mention as well we did have a 3-minute inversion here. As you can see, this candle at 9:48, we did inverse it. So if you decided to take something else, you could have entered off of this 3-minute inversion. So entry there, stop loss maybe just above this high here, and then look to target the Asia lows. That was one I didn't take, I missed out on unfortunately, but this is what I'm going to show you right now. So we ended up actually flushing below these lows here, and what I was looking at on this chart was this 1 hour order block right here. I wanted to see how price was going to react off of this. I made some mistakes, which is why I got break evened. I was expecting price to continue to go lower to previous day low instead of rejecting off this order block and continuing higher. We actually created a 15-minute gap, which is what I was watching. Boom, right there. And we rejected. This is why I made my mistake. I saw this 15-minute candle open right here. So if I go back a little bit, 10:44, so we'll go to 11 o'clock, which was about right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's 11 o'clock. So when we got this 11 o'clock opening, right, I saw this fair value gap here at 10:45. So let me go back and actually mark this out for you guys so you can see it. So we tapped that. Once we got that tap into it, the same thing like I showed you on the trades from Monday to Wednesday. We got a change in delivery below this low right here. I entered on this push up here, right? So I entered, it was kind of choppy. I didn't see any displacement. This was a nice displacement candle, but after that, it was just a whole bunch of chop. So as soon as we were just kind of chopping back and forth, but as soon as we came down and hit this level here, this end of this fair value gap, and also the end of this line that I marked out, I forget what it was, but it was something prominent. I don't want to go back and look. But as soon as we hit that level, it should be the next candle. There it is. I went break even. I entered here, and then I went break even here once it hit that, and then I got stopped out of break even. So that was the trade. Unfortunately, I went break even. I ended up losing like 700, but as you can see, the other trades, Wednesday 5.5k, Tuesday 8.8k, and then Monday, of course, we had our 6.4k day. So that was pretty much that. Got stopped out of break even. So I made the mistake of not noticing on the higher time frame. We were in a deep discount. We were in OTE. We were reacting off of this order block in the 1 hour. So the shorts were already done for the day, and I was just still trying to catch a little bit more, but that's a mistake I made. You learn from the mistakes and you come back. Even though you're going to continue to make mistakes as a trader, you're a human. You just have to adapt and keep learning, okay? So the ideal trade here, right, if we're taking everything into account that I just said, would probably be entering off of this gap here, off of the CASD, waiting for price to come at a discount, then getting your entry. Because as you can see, right after that, big pump. Now, what could you target, you might be asking? Well, there's a lot of low resistance liquidity here. But remember, keep in mind, it is a Thursday. It is the last day of the week in terms of trading. So do you really think price is going to come back up and sweep up all these highs that are respecting PD raise, right? It was a 5, okay. So what can I expect? I can just take profits at the 5-minute gap because price loves to react off of already mitigated PD raise. It's obvious, right? Look, mitigation here, high, low, lower, high, lower, low. Mitigation aligned with that. So that's where you take your profit. Let's say you entered on this retest, stop at the low. It's 115 points. It's a beautiful trade, right? But I made the mistake of not realizing that it was time for the market to flip bullish. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully this was informative. I'm going to start doing a lot more of these. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming soon, so please, you guys, stay tuned. And if you guys need any help, any suggestions that you'd like for the video, leave them down below. If you need help from me, make sure to just leave me a DM on Instagram. I don't really like using TikTok for DMs because I can't even send pictures or anything through there. But yeah, leave a comment, leave whatever you want to leave, and I will leave you boys with that. So with that said, have a great weekend, and I will see you boys next week.